I've had a very rough relationship with alcohol for my entire life. I grew up with both sides of my family, alcoholics on both sides. And I just struggled with it a lot. I mean, I was in a very toxic, abusive relationship many years ago. And honestly, after that ended, I just went crazy. That was when I really fed into drinking. But for me, I don't resonate with being addicted.
Girl, stop talking. All the shit that people are thinking but not saying. I'm not even like drunk. I've just been like drinking. Does my podcast offend you? Men, if you're listening, I apologize in advance. Women, hey bitches, are you ready? Are you still talking? Girl, stop talking.
Fucking Monday, bitches, and welcome to the Girl Stop Talking podcast. Excuse my raspy ass voice, raspier than normal today because I am deeply struggling of a hangover, which is honestly perfect timing because today I have Dylan here and we're gonna talk all about this word she used specifically in one of her posts and titling herself as a sober-ish person. So before we go into that, I wanted to introduce Dylan. She was on the show once before. However, I had severe technical difficulties and I wasn't able to release the episode. We were also supposed to re-record this like 2 days ago, and I was also experiencing technical difficulties. So, hi, Dylan. Thank you for dealing with me. How are you? Thank you for showing up.
What? That was an amazing intro, Tatum. Wow. No, I'm doing great, and I'm so happy to be on the show again, and I'm so glad we're able to do this. And yeah, I think it's hilarious that you have a hangover right now.
Oh my God.
We're talking about semi-sober.
I know, it looks like I'm drinking a cocktail, but it's actually like an energy drink and a Waterloo together to just give me a little more of what I need right now because I'm still struggling and I haven't actually drank anything in a couple of days. So this is where I'm at. But enough about me, okay? I tend to do that. I wanted you to just kind of introduce yourself and let the people know like about you and you have this fitness and nutrition wellness company. So why don't you give the people a little intro of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Dylan. I've been in business for 4.5 years. And yeah, I mean, I definitely started my journey with tons of restriction. I was in the bodybuilding world for a while. It was just many years of me trying to figure it out. But when I went all in and started my company to help other women, my big vision is holistic health and wellness. And, it's been a journey, though, which we'll get into with finding my balance and what balance actually means to me, because I defined it so differently in the past, especially with alcohol. But yeah, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for a while now and I absolutely love what I do. So that's why I'm super excited to chat.
Yeah, well, you're so inspiring in like the wellness space. And for those that don't know and don't follow me already, we are working together. Like I'm a part of your program. And, I've been able to see it from like how it works on the inside out. And I just feel like you do so passionately love what you do and it shows. And especially in the way you're teaching and talking to other girls about it. One of the things that I've noticed now being looking on the inside and the things that I've learned through your company and seeing just how like toxic social media is around like weight loss and diets, even other trainers. I mean, I'm sure you can speak to that a little as well, that you see things online and it's like, this is not healthy.
Right.
Like
so
I
true.
even comments that I've had from other girls where like I'll post something and then I remember getting one comment from a girl saying like, oh, well, I'll just get like a fat transfer or something about her chin. And she's like, oh, I just get Botox to handle that. And I'm sitting here thinking like, that's like a backwards ass comment. Like, do you know what I mean? Do you ever run into situations like that?
Oh, totally. All the time. I mean, people want the quick fix, and I chased that for so many years. So there's like this part of me that's like, I do get it. Like, I totally get it. But I think, like, at the end of the day, it's
Yeah.
so important to truly embody the lifestyle. And, like you said, Tatum, like, learn about your internal health and not just go on some another diet.
Yeah, no, it's wild to me, like just some of the like toxicity around wellness that I didn't even see beforehand. And then now just being in like the program and like unlearning and relearning some of those things and then hopping on social media and it's like, what? Like this is, and it's
Yeah.
crazy because like this is what people are seeing. Like they believe it. Even when I just see something titled like foods for weight loss. Like even to me, I
Yeah.
feel like that's triggering, right?
Yeah, it's honestly wild what you'll see on social media. And that's why I'm super passionate about teaching women. Coming into our program, our big promise is you're going to learn about your health and not just be handed a plan, which you obviously know, Tatum. You've been learning so much.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I really it's been like night and fucking day. I've like been anyone that I've talked to about it, they're always saying or I'm always saying like I thought I knew what I was doing, but like the amount of information that I've actually received in just such short amount of time has been a game changer. So, and we'll talk more about this too, but if this isn't like a huge selling point, if anyone's listening and they're like, these I've been wanting to make these changes and just feel better about myself. Like it really is worth investing in yourself because it's not like your money is getting put to good use. Like I know you've said
Totally.
so many times, it's like you're paying to like understand and learn and have the commitment, but it's for such a period of time of your life. And then you get to have that
Right.
knowledge there for the rest of the
Right.
time,
Totally.
I know, I don't need
Yeah.
to ask you that. You're like
That's a whole different rabbit hole, girl. I'm like, you invest in yourself for a short period of time, your whole life has changed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a rabbit
I
hole.
wanted
Though. We
to
won't go
just
down it.
hop right into like so the reason why I wanted to have you on okay, well first I know that we've like done this once before, but we have to do it again. So because that
Yeah.
episode didn't get released, when I usually have guests on, the one of the stories I like to share is the how we met.
I love this story anyways.
Okay. And so okay, yeah. So why don't you tell from your perspective and then I can fill in on my perspective as well. How did we meet, Dylan?
I was seeing this guy at the time, and I know that he had like low key posted me on his story because he was kind of a little shady. And Tatum, being Tatum, found my little tag that no one else could probably see, clicked me, and then started following me. And like from my perspective, I didn't know how you found me, but you DM'd me, we chatted, and then like I got you the macro guide, and yeah, I went from there.
Yeah.
So it's been years.
I know,
now.
which is so crazy. I know, I think it's so funny because like, yeah, I was a friend that I knew through like another friend situation. And when I saw he posted you on the story, I was like, oh, she's hot. I'm like, damn, who is that? And then of course I see this like little bitty tag. Bitch, I cannot tell you how many times I had to click until I got the link.
That's amazing.
I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. No, and then there was like one day, it was probably like a year or so after that, after we had been talking just via social media. I was at the lake, and then I was like, because we had never met in person, we were like internet friends, right?
No.
Yeah, and then I was like,
we
I
were-
feel like I know her, and I like had this super soaker gun, and I was like trying to get your attention without having to walk all the way over there, and then I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna go say hi.
I do remember that. That was so funny because I didn't know because there's so much going on, obviously, with the boats and
Yes.
stuff. And, water is like people jump in, there's splashing. So I didn't even realize it. I'm like, is someone sporting me with a water gun? And it was you. I love it.
Funny.
That was
so
amazing.
funny. So since then, we've definitely, we're working together. Like I'm a part of your program and you're coming on the show and we talk online. We love that. We love a girl's girl. So the reason why I wanted to have you on is because you actually posted something I think now it was probably some weeks ago, maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
And you had this whole post, very inspirational, by the way, all of your content, which I love. It's like very authentic and meaningful. But you wrote this whole post about how you've had to work a lot on your sobriety, and not even sobriety for what people think it is, but just your relationship with alcohol and what that means and how it's changed in your perspective. Now, the post was one thing, but then the caption, you were explaining yourself, and a couple weeks later, you had then posted on your Instagram story about how you actually got like interesting comments and heat and some flack for the content of that post and what that actually meant for you. And that just sparked so much intrigue to like a bigger conversation that is exactly why I wanted to have you on. So could you explain the post for everybody listening, and then we can kind of just like dive into it from there?
Definitely. So I made a post and it was all about alcohol. I've had a very rough relationship with alcohol for my entire life. I grew up with both sides of my family, alcoholics on both sides. And I just struggled with it a lot. I mean, I was in a very toxic, abusive relationship many years ago. And honestly, after that ended, I just went crazy. That was when I really fed into drinking. But for me, I don't resonate with being addicted.
Yeah.
I knew that I could stop whenever. So that didn't really resonate with me when, people would tell me, congrats, you're an adult, you're growing up. I'm like, that doesn't resonate, for me, it was more intentions and boundaries. So in the post, I was explaining that I'm semi-sober. Now, I do want to clarify, because I would never take anything away from someone who is sober. I do have family members that are sober. Actually, family members that met in AA.
Oh, my
ironically,
girl, my parents literally met in a rehab.
Really?
So
Okay,
yeah,
see?
and I always make the joke. I'm
Yeah.
like, my family's so boring; they're all recovering addicts.
Oh my gosh. Well, I really want to make that clear, because that was a lot of the heat that I got, but I would never take that from someone. But for my personal story, and I feel like a lot of people do resonate with this, when you have to work through a lot of intentions, boundaries, your relationship with it, very emotional, it takes a big toll on you. It is such a big habit.
Yeah.
Like every single weekend, I mean, that's just what I did. It's like, if I'm going to an event, I'm blacking out. I can't just have one drink. I have to have several. It's 0 to 100, and I never knew for many years how to have that relationship be healthy. And that's why I was trying to make it clear on my story after that post, like, this wasn't ever normal for me to be semi-sober, right? So yeah, it was a huge conversation opener.
No, it definitely is, because I think, and this is what I love, like right now, I feel like our generation specifically, I think a lot of people are learning these like unhealthy habits, and being sober right now is kind of trending. And, and I think that's beautiful. But again, there's this line that hasn't been totally crossed yet, because I think when people originally hear like, oh, I'm sober, they think, oh, well, you had a problem or you have a problem.
Right.
But now there are more and more people stepping into this space. They're like, no, I just don't want to fuel into that. Or they're like, I'm working on like myself and my fitness, or, it's like they have these other goals, but they don't align with like, well, I didn't need to go to rehab. I don't have an addiction. I don't have a problem. But it is weird because, and I'm sure it's like, especially having family members who are in AA or previous addicts or still addicted, that's like the first thought is like, if you're like, I'm sober, it's like, oh, you have a problem.
Right. Totally. Yeah. 100%. And I feel like what's so crazy about that post is, although I did get some negative comments like, oh, congrats, you're just growing up. This is a normal part of life to have this, be like less common on your weekends. People were giving me just a lot of shit, but I also had a lot of people that really, it resonated with them, right? Like, they're like, I love this because it's not like, again, you were addicted, but it's became such a habit that I feel like, yes, especially our generation, we're starting to realize that, like, I mean, alcohol is a glorified toxin if I'm being honest.
I mean, it's crazy because it's like me and my man were just talking about this the other day. He's like, it's so weird, like where the needle is on like drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Cause he's like, if we just like showed up to the lake and everyone was like shooting up heroin, you'd be like, holy fuck, but like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
but you go out and it's like everybody's wasted and it's like, oh, well, this is just a weekend at the lake, like not a big deal. But it is, it's like, it's a very loud, silent killer of a lot of things. And the fact that there are these like freeing zero boundaries basically on it, it's just insane. Like how one thing is different from the other, but it's just as addicting.
Totally.
Oh.
Yeah. No, and like, honestly too, it's like the whole idea of, being able to work on the intention and boundary. I mean, I had been working on it for so long, but I kept falling back to my past self. I kept leaning into that. So it is, an uncomfortable thing to have to work through these things. It really is like, what are my intentions? And we can get into different things that I've done to help myself with.
No, totally. I was just going to ask you, I was like, so coming to this realization of being semi-sober and that you feel like that is what you align with the most, like, what does that mean to you? Like, how did you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy my skinny, spicy marks.
Yes.
Cheers to that. But to me, what it means is having an incredible relationship with it, and any boundaries that I do set or any intentions that I make. It's just like any journey. It's keeping promises to yourself.
Okay.
And what I love about that is I was never able to do that. I would tell myself, oh, I'm just going to have a drink or two, and then I'm 7 drinks deep that night. Like, I would always break trust with myself, and I would always pull back from what I said. So learning the relationship and learning the boundaries, and, personally what I do is before I do start drinking, I, set up my intentions. But what's cool and like what probably resonates with people is, when I'm going to a bachelorette party, girl, I'm not just saying I'm having 1 or 2 drinks. I am intentionally saying you are going to have fun and have a lot of drinks. But, there's the opposite side of it. I used to go for a wine night with a girlfriend and we'd have 2, 3, and it's like, no, like my intention should be 1. It's a Wednesday night. I don't need to do that. And then we could go down the rabbit hole of like inflammation and what it does in the body. But that was also, something that I really realized that I felt puffy all the time. Like all the time.
Well, and you do a lot of side by side like photos and stuff like that too. So it's like you can even see in those photos. Obviously, I know you've been through a whole weight loss journey as well. So like I'm sure that's part of it. But even just, excuse me, I remember one you posted, it was like some weekend that you had just like had a couple of drinks and ate pizza. And then you were like the next morning, you're like, I feel puffy and look completely different. And then you showed those side by sides after a couple of days and the inflammation going down. So I mean, it's crazy to me that like you even got the reactions that you did from some people, because I think like most people aren't thinking about it like that. They are thinking like, oh, we do get older and we don't go out as much, or we're not in Old Town as much at a table, or you know what I mean? It's like we're staying home. But I think like sometimes those people also don't realize that like me and you, we do come from this like different place of addiction where we weren't taught like properly how these things should be aligned in our life. So we're trying to like work those things out, in real time. So I know you said that you started setting intentions for yourself, and some of those intentions were, if I'm going to have like X amount of drinks tonight, or I'm celebrating the girls and we're going hard, and that's the intention. Yes. What do you think some other things that people could do to try and get themselves like in a better state of having a better relationship with alcohol?
Yeah, I would just dive deeper. I know me personally, I still have alcoholism in my family, people who have not decided to be sober or work on their relationship. So I've seen it destroy friendships, marriages in my family, just different family situations, and I think for me, it took diving deeper and realizing I don't want to feed into that. anymore. And you know, I love my family, I love my friends. You know, I've had some wonderful times drinking, but I'm sure we can all admit that there's been some nasty things that came out of drinking and just not in the right state of mind. And yeah, yeah, girl,
Right
like
now.
let's be real. You know, it can really bring out the worst in
Yeah.
people. So for me, it was reflecting and being like, okay, every time that I drink, especially again after being out of that, you know, toxic relationship, I was just feeding into such negative energy. You know, I would go out and my intention would be, who's going to buy me drinks?
Oh yeah,
You
I
know,
remember
and it's
that.
like, right. And it's like all this negative, like male attention and like, you know,
Yeah.
like it was just, ugh, like not good energy.
Yeah.
You
Well, and
know?
like you said, like so many dangerous and shitty things come from nights like
yes.
that. Like even I've had my fair share of stories of blacking out, and like I hate that. I mean, I remember when I first started, like when I first turned 21 and we go out to like Old Town almost every single fucking weekend, Friday and Saturday night. I look back at that now and I'm
Yeah.
like, how? Like,
How, first of
like,
all, let's start there.
yeah,
How?
I'm like, how did we even have like
when I moved
the
here.
bandwidth and the energy to do
Yeah.
that? But it is interesting how like when you like the older you get, it's your reactions to alcohol do just get worse. And I mean, girl, I could just go back and forth with stories like all fucking day of like how alcohol has led me to shitty situations, shitty relationships, like the most toxic
Yeah.
relationship I've ever had. Sounds like you could agree. And
Yeah,
also,
totally.
like when I was younger, before I was even 21, girl, I got into a freaking not me driving. I got into a car accident, a hit and run car accident where I was like pulled out of the car and told to run from the scene. Okay. That's crazy. I
gosh.
cracked my head open
Yeah.
and I broke my wrist, all because of overindulging in alcohol when I was not even old enough to do so, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
for myself now, I always tell people I'm like the pandemic is probably the best thing that ever happened to me because it got me out of the club.
I'm dead.
Excuse me.
I got out of El Jefe.
Yeah.
I no longer.
And you know, I mean, I know like the pandemic was crazy for a lot of people. That's obviously just a joke, but it did, like the world shut down, you know, things changed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think it's okay. Speaking of things changing, let's go into this because I'm curious to know how has limiting alcohol impacted your sex life? Has that changed at all once you've taken
I love that
alcohol out of
question.
the question?
Yes, 100%. I mean, of course, when you take alcohol and you work through the relationship, again, I am not fully sober.
Yeah.
So, like, there's, you know, times where I will have some drinks, but I really don't drink often, especially compared to what I used to do. But yeah, I mean, when you take alcohol out of the situation, you're going to see so many benefits, and libido is one of them. I struggled with libido for so many years. I mean, there's other factors too. Like, I got off birth control, and you know, I do eat way different than I did years ago when it comes to like, you know, less processed foods and all
Yeah.
that. But yes, alcohol, I mean, really working through that, it just too allows you to be more in tune with who you truly are too.
Mhm.
You know, when you're drinking and then being intimate when you're drinking, it's like very different than when you're sober, of course.
So different.
You know? So different. So yes, 100%.
Yeah, I think for me, like I always do like I do like breaks during the year. So like I'll go X amount of days or whatever, just as like a little refresh, recharge. And I like recently did that this year in the beginning of the year. And I realized like how, I mean, normally when I drink, I don't drink Monday through Friday. It's just a weekend thing. If we're just chilling, it's a glass of wine here, glass of wine there. Not like anything super crazy other than the summers because it's different. We're at the lake. It's a little different. But
Totally.
something that I realized is that like, I think I would use alcohol almost like as a crutch for intimacy.
Yeah.
which, you know,
Yeah.
and like me and my man, we've been together for a long time. So it's not like there's any, like, I don't feel like I need to have it, but like I realized like we'd be together and intimate on the weekends and I, you know, would have a glass of wine or whatever. So when I took the break, then I was like, okay, wait, we don't have
Wait a second.
the liquid courage. Now,
Like, why am I not as like frisky? And
yeah, I'm like, where's the crazy wild sex? I'm like,
Right.
now I really felt like I was having to like put myself out there in a different way because I didn't have that, like, I guess the lowered inhibitions, you know?
yeah, the courage, the like, damn, I'm fucking sexy.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, but
You're like, I got that one covered.
yeah, but that was like something that I felt
love
like
it.
I had to work on. Also, there was other things in there too. Like I was not feeling comfortable in my own skin either. So
Right.
because that was right around the time that I started your program. And so I know that had like a lot, it affected all of that a lot, but it was something that kind of hit me as like a red flag of like, how often am I using this like as a crutch even for the intimacy in my life?
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole thing of like when you're drinking, I mean, you could be covering up a lot,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like who you truly are. Even like social anxiety, like a lot of people will drink because they are nervous to talk with people.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to work on the relationship so that you can learn these things about yourself. Like, okay, how can I still show up for my
Mhm.
partner and still have fun and like, have some fun wild nights, right? Or like how can I be able to talk to someone if I go to a networking event and don't have to slam down some vodka sodas.
Yeah.
Like, I think it is important to like learn to just know yourself a little bit more without alcohol. But yeah.
Did you ever struggle with like social anxiety? I mean, you seem like a very outward, like extroverted person, but where was the struggle with the alcohol in your life specifically that made you want to kind of like shift things up and go a little deeper?
Yeah, mine wasn't necessarily social. I've always been able to talk to people. I love connecting with people. So I've never really had an issue there. Mine was more, I only knew how to have fun with alcohol. Like every single family party, everyone's getting blacked out. Like who's going to be blacked out first? Everywhere we went. I mean, it just what I grew up with. Like I didn't know how to just like go and meet up with friends for lunch. Like I'm getting a margarita. Like, it's the weekend. Like, just like you said, I was a big weekend drinker. And I just always wanted alcohol involved. Whatever we did, I'm like, let's bring some alcohol. So I think mine was more of just like a crutch of what I knew and a habit, a really big habit that I realized I needed to break because it was just leading me down this path of like you said, not feeling good in my body, feeling puffy, like, upset with myself because I'm like, why did I tell myself 2 drinks and I had 7? Like, I get so mad at myself and there was just endless tears and like, I just kind of realized, honestly, I remember the day where I was just like, fuck this, man. Like, I need to dive deeper. Like, why do I always need to drink?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah,
So,
it's crazy because when you go through those like stints of like not drinking or like this change of trying to figure out why it is so common, I love that you said like it was a habit that you had to break because that's how I felt when I was going through my like understanding as well. I'm like, I'm not sitting here like I need it, but it is like, oh, we're hanging out with the girls, like we're going to dinner, like everywhere you look, it's like it's so easily accessible and it just feels like this is what we should be doing.
Yep, 100%. Yep. Yeah, it's a big realization. And I guess I'm curious for you, Tatum, to throw a question back. When did you realize in your journey? Because obviously you said, I didn't feel good in my skin. I hired you guys. When did that turn for you in a sense of resonating to an extent with like, am I sober and like limiting that more for yourself?
I think it was really the beginning of this year when I said I wanted to do, I don't know if I had an actual number of days, but I wanted to do at least 30. And then I wanted to like really just focus on like my fitness journey and like changing my health. And because I had been super uncomfortable in my body for like probably on and off for like a year and a half or so. And the point that it was getting, I just felt like I had exhausted everything and I just didn't know what to do anymore. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like take a break and in that, I think also with starting your program and like learning all of these other things and like having to like track food and be more like active, it just didn't align with what my higher goal was at that point. So, yeah,
Yes.
I know.
I love that.
And then here I am like
Yes.
struggling from a hangover today, but it's fine.
You're still killing it.
Yeah,
No,
so
I
I
love
think
that.
also it's like, you know, the stakes are higher when you're paying for something, you know? It's like it's not
Totally.
just, I mean, it's like I'm my own doing at that point. So if I'm not going to be the one to hold myself accountable, it's like, okay, am I just sitting here like wasting my money? I wanted to like fully take
Totally.
control of the situation. And I just honestly have fallen in love with like the fitness journey. So it was felt very overwhelming at first, but once you start getting into those routines and like changing them, you know, I'm like, I don't know. It was just, it felt kind of like a light switch, you know? I was like, I just didn't feel like I aligned with it anymore. And don't get me wrong, like, I still have my fucking weekends. Like, this last weekend
Right.
went a little crazy, like, had some fun. And I'm like sitting here day 2, feeling like I'm fucking dying. And I'm like, this was not worth it. Like, I'm like
Right.
feeling like shit, like sitting here contemplating, like, can I even do 3 podcast recordings today? And I'm like,
Oh wow, you're booked and
girl,
busy,
that's what I'm
girl.
saying. And I'm like, no, like I have to continue to show up. I'm like, you did this to yourself. Now you get to suffer.
I hear you. That's awesome though, Tatum, that you're like, I just don't align with it as
Yeah.
much. And I think that's the beautiful thing with intentions and relationship with it is especially knowing, you know, that your parents met in rehab. It's like there is addiction in the
Yes.
blood.
Yeah,
You know?
it's there.
like, you know, you just learn that throughout like life. And then for you to realize and recognize, you know, someone that does lose weight and feels confident in their
Mhm.
body, like chances are like they have a good relationship with alcohol and they're not drinking all the
Right.
time, right? So like recognizing that, and I think a lot of people get weary because also from like a background from me of like I restricted everything. So I think there was a lot of resentment there of like I don't want to restrict my
Yeah.
alcohol. I'm fine. I have balance. Like years ago, like younger me would have called balance drinking on the
Yeah.
weekends, right? You know, and I'm sure you resonate with that too. It's like, oh, it's just balance. It's just the
Yeah.
weekends. But then I soon realized that, like you said, like her, like future self, who I want to become, who I want to show up as, she's not getting blacked out every weekend.
Yeah.
She's not. She's got
Yeah.
goals. So it is realizing that. And like you said, flipping the switch. And, you know, again, it's like I resented the word restricting alcohol because everything I did was restrict my carbs, my dieting, my, you know, cardio was always hardcore for me back in the
Mhm.
day. So I had to work through the word restriction and realize that it's just boundaries. It's not like I can't go get a margarita with
Yeah.
you, Tatum. I'm
Well,
down.
you know, and that's so funny. I love that you say that also because through this program, like I have learned to really set hard boundaries for myself and say no. Like I like especially
Yeah.
when I think the other thing too that like people also like abuse a lot is food. And like not yeah, it's like food and alcohol and they go hand in hand, right? And then I'm doing this program. I was just in a huge cut for a long time, like very limited on not limited, but like you're counting everything and like you know,
Yeah.
I started feeling better and I'm like, I want to keep this up. Like, I can't tell you how many times my friends have been like, hey, let's hang out. Like, do you want to get dinner? And I'm like, no. I'm like, do I want to get dinner? Yes. But I'm like, unfortunately, like eating out doesn't fit into my macros right now, you know? So it's
Yeah,
like, that was
yeah.
a big thing too, that like I had to unlearn with all of this. It's like, it's okay to like
Right.
say no and set certain boundaries. And so my response to that would be, I'm going to pause and table that for a second. You know, it's like you have your core friends and then you have friends that like you hang out with every once in a while. And a lot of that time is drinking or dinner and drinks. And it is what it is. And that's fine. But like a lot of those friendships have paused because I'm like, hey, you know, this doesn't fit into what I'm doing right now. And like, so now I'm going to bring it back and say, I always hit them back with like, if you want to hang out, I would love to. Like, why don't you come over and I can cook dinner? Because then it puts me
Right.
back in control of like, I can make something that's like yummy and healthy, that's going to fit into my
Yeah.
plan. I'm not going to have to spend extra money for. And I think like a lot of, you know, people's excuses for like wanting to do a program like yours is that they can't afford it. But it's like, okay, but how often are you
Yeah.
eating out? How much money are you spending on alcohol? You know what I mean? So it's like all of those things are kind of just had tied together. But even in that sense, it's like, if you don't want to come over, you don't have to, but I'm not eating out. I'm not spending money right now.
Right. Yeah, I love that because the way that I like to explain learning the lifestyle, like being healthier, relationship with alcohol, all of it is it's not restriction, it's
Yeah.
sacrifice. Because if everyone was like able to do it, like we'd all be fit and lean and have great relationships with alcohol. But that's not the case. So if you want to be different, you need to realize there is some
Yeah.
sacrifice. But I love that you said it's even like realizing when you are in a cutting phase specifically, it's like it's not like that's a forever thing. It's a short-term sacrifice. And then you're able to get out because the way we do it, we don't got to dive
Yeah.
into that, but like, getting your metabolism to the point where like now you're out of the cut and you're able to do those things. So, yeah, it's awesome that you have realized too like friendships and stuff. I mean, I used to have drinking friends and I'm no longer friends with
Yeah.
them because I go out but not like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah, it is
totally.
interesting. Like, even just having like drinking friends, like, those are just the friends you go out to drink with. That's kind of a
Yes.
wild
Totally.
concept if you think about it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a
Yeah.
lot of those either. And I'm like, even my best friends, I'm like, damn, it took me 2.5 months to make fucking plans with her. I'm like, we're so busy all the time. But
Right. So true.
so, okay. So, how would you like recommend if someone's like, okay, all this seems like it's very validating. I feel seen. I've been wanting to like make this switch and like unlearn some of these things. Like, is there anything that you could say to help like give them some recommendations on, how to minimize or how to set boundaries or what the attention should look like? Could you hit us with some solid advice?
Definitely. So I would definitely be realistic with yourself, especially if you resonate with being, just limiting your alcohol, being semi sober, and you aren't wanting to go fully sober. With going fully sober, obviously, that's a great decision as well. If you feel that's best for
Hmm.
you, go for it. I love that. But if you're looking to dabble with still having alcohol in your life, I think the number one thing that you need to recognize is you have to give yourself grace while also setting expectations.
Yeah.
So, what I mean by that is there's been several times where I've told myself I'm going to have a few drinks and then I'm out with my girlfriends and I say, you know what? It's going to be okay. Now, what I don't do is past Dylan would have done this. I'm already gone,
Yeah.
at that point. What I do in the moment is I set a new intention and I say, okay, I'm now allowing myself to do this. And I just think it in my head. It doesn't have to be hardcore. Like, you don't have to share it with the group.
Right.
You just make that decision because what you need to do and what you need to practice is honestly building trust with
Yeah.
yourself. I didn't trust myself for many years with alcohol. I would see a shot and I'd take it, so setting expectations and really evaluating the intention and the boundary, regardless of where you're at with drinking before. That's really helped me because then I don't feel guilty. I'm like, yeah, I did make that,
Decision.
like I said that to
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And that's also a great tip with food as well, because you're going to have days where you're out and you really want the nachos. It's
Hmm.
okay. But before just eating the nachos and devouring and binging like I used to, I'm like, I want nachos. I just recognize it. I admit it. I order
Yeah.
it. It's a slower process. It's more being more aware because so many times we're so go, 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 go. And then we do things and we're like, why did I do
Yeah.
that? Like, why did I drink all those drinks? Like, why,
Yeah.
So that would be a big thing. And then I would definitely dive into the past. Why do you want to be semi sober? Or get your why, just like any
Hmm.
journey. Why do you want to? I'm going on an acne journey right now. Why? Because I want clear, glowy
Yeah.
skin. Why do you want to lose weight? I want to feel confident again. Okay, why do you want to be semi sober? Why do you want to work on this? Because I have a shit relationship with alcohol and I really want to work through it. So I think being very clear with the why behind it. I know it's cheesy to like remind yourself of the why, but it is important to realize and have a reason, or you're going to lose sight. You're not going to care,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and the why, I think it has to like make sense for you, you know? And I
Yeah.
think like when talking about weight loss and stuff like that, I think obviously people are like, well, I want to lose weight because then I'll feel. And it's like, mm, I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's really the why. You know, it could
Yeah.
be confusing because people always think like, well, I'll feel better if I'm skinny, but then, you know, they lose some of the weight and then it's like it doesn't resonate with them anymore and they're like, well, I don't feel better. So it's I like what you're saying where you're like
Right.
really trying to like dig deeper and understand like what is the real reason behind this. I mean, we all know that like when you abuse alcohol, there's usually a bigger reason, you know? Like whether you
Totally.
have, you know, past trauma or you're not happy with yourself or like you're saying you do have that social anxiety. So obviously we're not like licensed therapists or anything. This is just a show for shits and gigs. But yeah, I like what you said about, you know, trying to deeper understand like where is this really coming from?
Yeah. I think too, like honestly, just do it for your
Yeah.
health, right? Like it is a glorified toxin. You know, not to go down the dark path, but it leads to so many deaths, DUIs, suicides. You know, alcohol is very much glorified in the media when you're out. Like you said, it's
Movies,
everywhere.
TV
Um,
shows.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's drinking, and I think it is kind of, yeah, diving deeper. And, you know, I personally don't ever want to cut it out. I do enjoy having a drink with a friend and having my days where I have some, you know, fun
Yeah.
times, whatever it means. But yeah, I think just diving a little bit deeper and realizing that it really is awful for your health. It is straight toxin in your body.
So, what do you feel like you've learned or gained from this whole journey of, you know, understanding where you're at with alcohol and how far you've come? Like, how has it affected you or changed your perspective on the whole thing?
Yeah, I honestly realized that I am so much better off living it and having that freedom
Yeah.
with it. Um, I say that because, again, I've seen it control so many people in my life. And for many years, looking back, I'm like, oh, wow, you know, I could have gone down a different
Mm-hmm.
path. So I'm glad that I dove into all of this when I did. But for me, it's like it's led me to so much, Tatum. Like I've obviously achieved, you know, my best
Yeah.
body.
I know, girl. The
You're
post, I'm like, oh, damn.
you know, I've like really lowered inflammation and like I've really been able to tighten up
Mhm.
more. And you know, that obviously has been great, but the mental side too, like brain fog, I've been able to grow my company. You know, I'm now a team of 10 because I have such mental clarity and I'm able to like dive into my vision more. And again, it's like I had balance with it and I was able to grow my business, but it has taken off so much more because of the clarity and the balance, you know, that truly is balance now in my life. Yeah, and it's just led to me feeling like I can go out and not drink. It's like I feel more powerful in who I am. And yeah, that's the most, you know, it's just the biggest benefit, feeling really good in my
Well,
skin.
and probably like all the time that you've gotten back too. I mean, when you're not spending
Yes.
days hungover and hating yourself, like you,
And money.
yes, yeah, you're able to like
All the
put
benefits.
that time back into your business and, you know, really use it for
Yeah.
the other positive attributes in your life. So, I mean, I love
Totally.
all of this. I think it's great. Like we said earlier, I think it's like, my sorry, I got hair in my mouth. I'm trying to stop my cat from jumping up on me. He's so needy. I think, like I said earlier, it's like being sober is trending right now. And I think not everybody, like, you don't have to go full hard, like one way or the other, but being able to
Right.
understand where you are on that line and making changes for the better is definitely where things are moving. And I think that's just, I think it's great that you're talking about it, you know, and being so open and authentic on your page because, I mean, girl, you really out here changing lives. You are.
That's like the best.
No, seriously. I definitely feel like and I'm speaking from experience, like I'm fully in and still in and committed. And, you know, I can sit here and say that it's, you know, lives are really being changed and it's really beautiful what you're doing. And I know there's no stopping there. So why don't you tell the listeners, like, what's going on? Where are you at right now? Do you have new things coming? Like, where can people find you? Give us like the whole rundown of the business and what you have that we can see.
Totally. Yeah. So, with working with us, it's holistic health and wellness. So, nutrition, training, so workouts, and we take it a step further. So, again, you know, relationship with alcohol, identity shifting. So, like stepping into your power. You genuinely will know us. I mean, look at us hanging out. But yeah, Tatum works with one of my coaches on the team. So, you know, we are just such a community. I mean, even our group chat is like popping. We do challenges. It's so fun. And you're always kicking us in those.
I'm competitive.
Oh, yeah, Tatum's in it.
I'm like, who won? Why haven't we released it yet? No,
I love it. But no, we actually just did a rebrand a few months ago. So we are Team Optimize. You can find me honestly under my personal account. It's Dylan J Fit or Team Optimize on Instagram. It is spelled unique. OPTMZE is how we spell it. But you'll find that right on my page. So just go to Dylan J Fit. But yeah, we are currently available for new clients. We take it a step further. We have gut health included, inflammation. I haven't announced this yet, but we can go ahead and announce it here.
Special announcement. Bow, bow, bow.
We actually just brought on an endocrinologist, so a hormone doctor.
That's amazing.
Yes. So if any of our clients get blood work, they can meet with her. And so now we have gut health, GI maps, endocrinologists on staff. We have, you know, higher level education. So we're not just macros.
No. And it really is. And I think like the one thing that I love so much is like when you talk to people about like their needs and expectations, you really do put them with someone that's going to work and benefit on both sides. Like you're like almost like matchmaking type of thing. But like like with what you said, you know, each coach kind of has like their niche. And so it's not just like a one size fits all, even though it kind of is like a one size fits all. Do you get what I mean?
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We got a bodybuilder coach. We've got a prenatal, postnatal mom coach. So, I mean, we've got it all. And that's what I love about it too. Like, we will meet you where you're at and we will help you through. And the goal is to get you to the point where like you don't need us, as funny as that sounds. Just to learn, you know, you truly learning these things and like again stepping into your power, because any coach could hand you some meal plans or macros, but you have to learn it. You need to educate yourself. So that's what we do.
And you do. You really are one with education for sure. And I honestly love that you lead with like the goal is to get you to learn and not need us anymore, because it shows that you're in it passionately for the right reasons, not just to make money. And so, I mean, I love that. I'm here for it. I appreciate you coming on and dealing with all the technicalities that we've had to deal with to get here. And and I will put all of the information that Dylan just said in the show notes so that you can find her easily. And then I will be posting and tagging her as well on all channels. You also have a YouTube, do you not?
Yeah, I just posted. I'm trying to get back into it. It's Dylan Jamie. So you can find me on there too. But I just
I saw you post something on your story, and that's more like vlog, like personal travels kind of stuff, right?
Travel. It's a little bit of everything.
That's so cool. Well, me and myself and I don't know why. I know me and all my different personalities are up on YouTube as well. Girl Stop Talking podcast. If you can't find it on YouTube, I may be shadow banned. I'm not really sure how it all works just yet, but you can click the link in my bio and you can find it there. Please go subscribe. All the episodes will be up on there now. And if you're not subscribed to the show and you're just listening, it's Girl Stop Talking podcast on Spotify, or you can listen anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much, Dylan. I really appreciate it. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Are you still talking? Girl, stop talking.